Dylan picked her up, and they set off for the picnic, enjoying the wind and music in the car. Scarlett relished the views outside the window, while Dylan smiled as he looked at her. When they arrived at the lake shore, Dylan opened the trunk to get the food and grill. "Do you like this place?" he asked. "It's just wonderful. I'm thrilled," Scarlett replied. Dylan offered fruits and vegetables while he started preparing the meat. "It'll be crowded here in the summer, but now we can enjoy the seclusion," noted Dylan, thinking about the upcoming swimming season. "I don't know how to swim. They didn't teach us that at the orphanage," Scarlett revealed. "No problem. I can teach you in the summer," Dylan suggested. Meanwhile, Scarlett was cutting vegetables and preparing snacks, arranging them on plates. In between, she watched Dylan skillfully cooking meat on the coals, enjoying the aroma of the nearly finished kebabs. It was a beautiful day. They were having a great time, enjoying delicious food, listening to music, laughing, and simply conversing on various topics. Dylan no longer touched upon the subject of their past lives. She felt at ease and comfortable around him. At some point, the guy fell into thought and looked closely at Scarlett. "You know, when you came to the party that time, I just couldn't take my eyes off you," he said softly. "You're special, not like the girls from my faculty, not like childhood friends, not like those around me." Scarlett remained silent, unsure of how to respond to such a revelation. "I want you to be my girlfriend. I want to get to know you better every day, be by your side, help and care for you," Dylan continued. Goosebumps ran down Scarlett's body. "I've never said such words before," the guy confessed. This pleasantly surprised the girl, but she didn't know how to react to such words, so she chose to remain silent. "Do you think I'm not appealing to you?" asked Dylan, gazing deeply into her blue eyes. "I do like you," Scarlett replied softly, "but are you sure you need someone like me? You have education, a nice apartment, and, in the end, a mother. And I'm just a hairdresser. That's not important at all. I'm sure everything will be fine for you. And about my mom, she'll like you, I'm sure of it. I think you're rushing things. We barely know each other," Scarlett said, plucking a blade of grass and playing with it in her hands. "Don't worry, I won't rush you. I just want to be with you, to see you more often." I agreed. "Let's occasionally date and spend time together," she agreed. They smiled at each other, and the tension slowly dissipated. Dylan drove Scarlett home after dusk. To her surprise, Scarlett hesitated to get out of the car. She enjoyed being close to him and didn't want to say goodbye. Dylan silently looked at her, then took her hand, drew closer, and kissed her. When she opened her eyes, he was smiling at her. Goodbye, she had to part, but he didn't let go of her hand. "Yes, goodbye," Scarlett whispered softly. She returned to her apartment, sat on the couch, and closed her eyes. A dense silence filled the room. She didn't want to turn on the TV or even switch on the lights. Over and over again, she felt Dylan's kiss on her lips, and an irresistible, soft, warm happiness filled her from within. 6 months passed. Dylan successfully defended his thesis and started working at a publishing house. During this time, Scarlett's mother expanded her client base at the beauty salon, attracting regular visitors who insisted on being attended to by Scarlett. The salon owner often praised the girl. "You're talented, Scarlett," she said. "People schedule appointments with me because of you. I'm proud of you." Dylan and Scarlett talked every day, arranged meetings, spent evenings together, visited cafes, cinemas, or simply strolled. True to his promise, Dylan did not rush Scarlett into intimate relationships. During this time, their relationship didn't have moments that were just about hugs and kisses. Once they cozied up in a cafe on the waterfront, choosing a table by the window. Outside, rain soaked the fallen yellow leaves, and the wind stubbornly tried to scatter the damp foliage. "Listen, Scarlett," Dylan began, holding her hand. "I want you to meet my mom. I think it's time. I love you, and I think inviting you for dinner tomorrow is the right moment." "Does your mom already know something about me?" she asked. "She knows I have a girlfriend, but nothing more. I want you to meet, to take our relationship to a new level. What do you think about it? I want you to be able to show up at our house as my special girl. I want everyone to know that we're together, that you're a part of me." "What about you?" Scarlett asked, thoughtfully. "I'm afraid I won't be liked by your mom." "Don't worry about that. She'll accept my choice. Mom loves me and will be happy if I'm happy." Scarlett nodded silently, but she wasn't entirely confident that they were doing everything right. However, she hoped that everything would turn out well and decided that she would carefully prepare for this meeting. Scarlett knew whom she could rely on and who would support her. When she got home, she immediately picked up the phone to call Harper. "Can you come over?" she asked her friend. Urgently, something happened. Yes, what's wrong? I'm on my way. Harper's response came quickly. Scarlett always knew she could count on Harper to respond instantly to her request without asking too many questions. Within half an hour, her friend was knocking on the door. We saw each other at work today. What happened in just a couple of hours? Harper asked, entering the kitchen. Will you make tea? Yes, I'll pour it now, replied Scarlett, fetching the cups. The thing is, Dylan suggested I meet his mom tomorrow. Oh, wow, Harper exclaimed. Harper, of course, knew that Scarlett was dating Dylan and that both were deeply in love with each other. She also knew that apart from kisses, nothing more had happened between them, so she viewed their relationship more as platonic. She was surprised that Dylan was taking such a step, introducing Scarlett to his mother. Usually, in such cases, things went differently. Couples spent more time together before meeting each other's parents, or they met when the situation was more serious than just having dinner at home. Yeah, he said today that we have dinner at their place tomorrow. I'm so nervous, confessed Scarlett. Oh, really? Do you think he's immediately suggesting you live together? Harper exclaimed, waving her hands and rolling her eyes to the ceiling. I thought something really significant had happened, and here it is just dinner at his place. Well, he'll ask you some questions, and what? That's normal. That's exactly what worries me. I'm afraid I'll start lying, like saying my father was a criminal, my mother drowned in alcohol, and I grew up in an orphanage, said Scarlett, resting her palms on her temples, trying to calm her racing pulse. I don't want to talk about this. It's better to avoid the questions, or say that they died. Often that stops further inquiries. But that's a lie, objected Harper. Starting a relationship with deceit isn't a good idea. Yes, but I didn't lie to Dylan about my parents, I just didn't tell him. He noticed it's a difficult topic for me and didn't bring it up again. So what do you think? Maybe his mom is also hiding something from him. Harper hugged Scarlett by the shoulders. Don't worry, everything will be fine. You don't understand, it's rude not to answer questions, Scarlett said. Better think about what image I want to present to his mother. At this tense moment, the girls continued to discuss how to best prepare for this meeting and handle this unexpected situation. Exactly, Harper agreed. His mom is probably a very sophisticated lady, owning a publishing house, driving a car, and their apartment, of course, is luxurious, as you know. So, you should present yourself to her in your best form. Let's see what you have in the closet to pick something decent. The girls entered the room, and Harper, acting like a hostess, opened the closet door, carefully surveying her friend's wardrobe. Dresses, skirts, blouses started flying onto the couch, one after another. Listen, for this occasion, this knit dress will do, said Harper, handing Scarlett a hanger with a plain blue dress. Firstly, it fits the weather, and secondly, it's not too flashy. Do you think it'll work? Of course, replied Scarlett. Pay more attention to the overall look. Apply light makeup, and everything will be great. Her friend seemed pleased with herself. As usual, she finds a way out of the situation and is proud of it, thought Scarlett. Harper always finds the problem and its solution, she said aloud. It's a little nerve-wracking. Scarlett continued to hesitate. Don't get nervous. All that's left for us is to choose a wedding dress, joked Harper. Oh, come on, enough with the jokes. But seriously, does he immediately want to introduce me as a future bride? You act like you're from another universe. All guys do that, Scarlett said. No, you haven't had this yet because you didn't want it. Dylan has wanted this for a while, I'm sure, said Harper. Stop cornering me. Scarlett shrugged off her friend and pressed her cool palms against her warm cheeks. On one hand, Scarlett was grateful to Harper for her support, but on the other, her friend's frankness always bewildered Scarlett, making her blush. Nevertheless, she agreed with the advice regarding the dress, setting it aside while returning the rest of the clothes to the closet. The friends headed towards the hallway. All right, I'll run along, said Harper, kissing Scarlett on the cheek. Don't forget to tell me how it all went later, okay? Of course. Who else can I tell? Replied Scarlett. Scarlett closed the door behind her friend and glanced at herself in the mirror. Why did Dylan have to come up with this introduction to his mom? She thought, maybe it would have been better to just stay together alone all these months. Scarlett, without this. Dylan returned home, opening the apartment door and loudly announcing, Mom, I'm home. I'm in the kitchen, dear. Come eat, Luna replied. You must be hungry. He sat at the table, and in front of him was a plate of fried potatoes and sausages. Sausages again, Dylan remarked discontentedly. You cook so well. Why don't we try something else? Don't grumble, please. You know I don't have time to cook right now. Luna patted her son's shoulder. Work comes first. But tomorrow, I'll make something special, I promise. What's the special occasion tomorrow? Luna asked, pouring tea for her son. Well, tomorrow, Mom, I'll introduce you to my girlfriend, Dylan said solemnly. Luna smiled, resting her chin on her hand. Nothing new. We've been dating her for 6 months, Dylan said. Can you pass the bread, please? The mother handed her son a plate with sliced bread. Luna knew that Dylan was seeing someone. She often heard him talking on the phone with some girl. Besides, she couldn't help but notice how incredibly happy her son was. Despite not lingering at work and coming home late, he was happy. When Luna saw that Dylan had decided to introduce her to his girlfriend, the smile quickly vanished from her face. She felt hurt by her son's response and decided to retort. Maybe you could tell me a little. Who is she? Asked the mother, if only to know what to talk about with her. She's just a wonderful girl, Dylan interjected. That's enough, he added, wiping his mouth with a napkin and standing up from the table. Mom, I hope there won't be sausages on the table tomorrow. Prepare everything beautifully and deliciously, as you know how, Dylan asked, bidding farewell. I don't have time to cook it all, or explained Dylan, hugging his mother's shoulders and kissing her on the cheek. Everything was very delicious. I'm off, he concluded, leaving Luna alone in the kitchen. Bewildered, Luna quickly finished washing the dishes, this time spending a few extra minutes at the table lost in her thoughts. Her boy, who always seemed so small, had grown and changed, turning into an independent young man who no longer saw her as his primary support but rather perceived her as some kind of stranger. Confronting such a change was inevitable, and Luna felt that this moment would come sooner or later. Thoughts raced through her mind about how time was speeding by relentlessly, and soon her son would be able to start his own family, while she herself would face the new role of being a grandmother. She understood that these events might only happen in the distant future, but finding herself on the threshold of a new era and meeting the woman who had captured her son's heart felt entirely new and unexpected. Jealousy tormented her heart, but Luna Ilyinishna, resolutely didn't want to disrupt her relationship with her son because of it. The evening passed incredibly quickly, and Luna had to find time to prepare dinner despite the commotion. It was simply impossible to go to the stores in search of groceries. Taking care of the dishes, she sat down at the table, took out her smartphone, and opened the website for grocery delivery service. The next day, she invited her secretary, Eva, into her office. I'll be leaving earlier today, the boss announced. Keep an eye on everything here and don't forget to close the office. Is something wrong? Eva inquired. Yes, today Dylan will bring his girlfriend to meet me. I need to prepare dinner, Luna replied. My goodness, congratulations. But for what? Ava expressed her dismay. I have no slightest idea who these girls are and what they want from my son. They are so well known. She, scares and raises concerns. Oh, how many fraudsters there are around, targeting young successful people, Luna sighed. You're absolutely right, Luna, Ava nodded. I'll do everything possible. I'll handle the situation, take measures, Ava reassured her boss. Then, she took her purse, retrieved the car keys fob, and left the office. Ava stood there in the office, lost in thought. She had long felt a moral attraction towards her boss's son. Ava constantly tried to show him attention, bringing coffee, treating him with her homemade pastries, trying to please the guy. He thanked her but didn't show particular interest in the girl. She believed that with time, she would win his heart. But now all her hopes were crumbling. When Luna heard the sound of the opening door, she quickly took off her apron and hurried to the hallway. Before her stood her son, holding the hand of a girl in her 20s. The son's friend smiled shyly. Mom, meet Scarlett, said Dylan. Scarlett, this is my mom, Luna. Very nice to meet you, the girl said, trying to steady her voice. Dylan's mother carefully examined her, waiting for her son to help the girl take off her coat. She was wearing a simple blue knitted dress, long brown hair cascading over her shoulders. Luna noticed that her son had good taste. The girl was genuinely beautiful and carried herself modestly. At some point, Luna even sighed with relief. Scarlett, in turn, saw before her a beautiful, statuesque, elegantly dressed woman. She must have been around 45, but she didn't look a day over 40. Come into the living room, Dylan's mother offered. I'll be right there. I still have something hot in the oven. Scarlett, come in. Make yourself at home. Don't be shy. Dylan nudged the girl toward the open doors to the hall. It was her second visit here, to this house, although the first time was at a party. But today, the room looked completely different. In the center of the space, there was a beautifully set table illuminated by a large crystal chandelier with many dangling drops. Silence filled the air. "Don't worry," Dylan whispered into the girl's ear. "I'll help you take a seat at the table." "Mom, we don't need your help." Luna was already heading to the living room, carrying a dish with roasted meat. "Sit better at the table," she offered. For a while, silence filled the room. No one knew how to start the conversation. The mother was the first to break the awkwardness. "Dylan, sweetheart, take care of the guest and me. Put the salad," she smiled at Scarlett. While Dylan diligently arranged the food on the plates, Luna decided to initiate a conversation with the girl. "Scarlett, tell us about yourself. What do you do? Are you studying at university?" the mother asked. "No, I'm already working," the girl quietly replied. "And you, Dylan's mom, do you work?" Dylan interrupted the girl's response. "She's a hairdresser at a beauty salon. Very talented, highly regarded at work. And did you receive an education?" Luna continued the interrogation. "No, unfortunately," Scarlett replied. "I took hairdressing courses and started working right away." The mother's gaze became ambiguous. Her initial impression of the pleasant-looking girl was starting to change. Luna expected Dylan's companion to have an education or at least a respectable profession. Instead, she discovered she was a hairdresser. "And who are your parents? What do they do?" Luna inquired further. Scarlett remained silent, lowering her head. She expected such questions, but answering them turned out to be very difficult. "Scarlett's mother is absent, and why are you prying like this? Let the guest eat in peace," Dylan intervened, defending the girl. "What do you mean by absent mother?" Luna set aside her fork and knife. "Who raised you, supported you?" "I grew up in an orphanage," Scarlett, finally mustering her strength, decisively replied. Luna's eyebrows raised in surprise. She silently lifted them and then let out a tired sigh. Taking some dishes from the table, she turned to her son. "Dylan, would you help me with the tea?" "Of course," the guy replied, stood up from the table, and followed his mother. As they moved towards the kitchen, Scarlett collected the empty plates and headed towards the kitchen to help clear the table too. Walking through the corridor, she unexpectedly overheard Luna and Dylan talking. "Are you out of your mind? Why the hell did you bring her into the house?" Dylan's mother scolded him angrily. "A hairdresser from an orphanage, are you planning to marry her?" "We haven't even discussed this, but I love Scarlett," the guy argued. "Over my dead body, do you understand? I won't let you ruin my life by tying her to this." Suddenly, they both noticed Scarlett in the doorway, holding the plates. The girl took a few steps forward, placed the dishes on the table, and said, "I've cleared the table," then turned around and walked away. "Mom, you should have shown a little tact." Dylan expressed his discontent. "You don't understand, she's my girlfriend," Scarlett's voice echoed. The door lock clicked loudly, and Scarlett left, slamming the door. Dylan rushed after her, throwing on his jacket and hat on the fly. "Scarlett, wait," Dylan shouted, catching up with her in the yard. "Wait, you promised," he continued, grabbing her, turning her towards him, and holding her tightly. "I won't let you go anywhere," he said, his gaze fixed on her eyes. "I love you, and I will never enter your house again," the girl said quietly. "Don't pay attention. My mom just hasn't understood you yet." He started kissing her cheeks, moist from tears, feeling hurt by the woman who had smeared Scarlett from the very beginning of their acquaintance. With salty drops on her cheeks, she cried like a child unjustly hurt. The pain was immense, and the offense doubly so. "Do I deserve such humiliating words for everything I've had to go through?" Scarlett thought, softly sobbing. She didn't express a single negative word in front of Dylan's mother. "I need to go home to calm down a bit," she said, gathering her resolve. "Let's go, I'll go with you." "I won't come back until my mom apologizes to you," the supportive girl replied. They hailed a taxi and headed to Scarlett's home. As usual, Dylan stopped at the entrance of the girls' building, hugged her, and kissed her on the lips. But suddenly Scarlett took his hand and whispered, "Come." She pulled Dylan towards the door, and they hurried to her floor. The girl quickly opened the door, and everything that followed seemed predestined. Dylan dreamed of closeness with his beloved girl but waited for the moment when she would want it herself. Today, he needed her embrace more than ever. He whispered, I love you," as the dawn approached. "I want to always be with you." "Let's get married," Dylan said, gazing into Scarlett's eyes. Not immediately comprehending his words, she sat down, covering herself with a blanket, looking at him with surprise. "Are you serious?" she asked, her eyes filled with concern. "As serious as it gets." "What about your mom?" he replied, looking into her eyes. "What does my mom have to do with this?" Scarlett wondered. She has her own life. I'm an adult, self-sufficient person. I have a good job, and will live just fine without her help. Scarlett threw herself into his chest. I love you so much, she whispered. The entire next day, Dylan and Scarlett spent together. They cooked lunch, strolled through the streets of the residential area, kissed, and felt complete happiness. After returning home from shopping, Dylan and Scarlett started preparing dinner. Suddenly, the phone rang. That's mine, said Dylan, heading to the room to answer the call. Sensing something amiss, Scarlett sat down on a chair, trying to make out the conversation from the kitchen. The girl understood that Dylan's mother was calling, and they won't come back until you reconsider your relationship with Scarlett, she heard when he answered the call. Stop yelling. I'll come to work tomorrow as usual, Dylan replied. He returned to the kitchen and saw Scarlett looking downcast. So, darling, everything is fine. We're together, he reassured her, embracing her. Then, out of the blue, he lifted her up and twirled her around. Am I not getting fed in this house today? Scarlett joked, laughing. She felt relieved because Dylan wasn't going to yield to his mother's first call, and didn't leave her after their conversation. The next morning, Scarlett was preparing breakfast, but Dylan declined, saying he'd just have a cup of coffee and needed to stop by home to change before work. And in the evening, asked Scarlett with concern, after work, I'll pick you up, we'll go to the beauty salon, and then either to my place or yours. Don't you like my constant presence in your apartment? Dylan smiled. Dylan kissed Scarlett and hurried off. When he returned home, his mother was already gone. She had left for the publishing house. After changing, he grabbed a folder with the manuscripts he had been working on. He rushed to the office as well. In the corridor, he was greeted by Eva, the secretary. Dylan, hello. Would you like some coffee? I can bring it right away, she offered. No, not now. Sorry, in a rush, replied Dylan, heading towards the editorial department's office. Deadlines were looming, and he was eager to finish a major project to spend the evening with Scarlett. A few minutes later, the internal phone on his desk rang. Dylan, please come to Luna's office, he heard Eva's voice. Yes, she's calling for you. Stacking his documents in the folder, closing files on the computer, Dylan headed to the reception area. He opened the door to his mother's office. Hello, Mom, he said, noticing papers on the desk. Well-mannered people greet first, Luna said sternly, without looking up from her work. They don't call their son's fiancé an upstart and an orphan, they don't insult people they know nothing about, and they respect the choices of others. Hello, Mom, Dylan repeated. Luna raised her head and looked closely at her son. Mixed feelings were evident in her eyes, love for her son and jealousy towards the girl who could potentially occupy a place in Dylan's heart that belonged to his mother. Dylan sighed, feeling excitement and tension within himself. He understood that this conversation was a pivotal moment for his relationship with his mother. He looked deeply into her eyes, trying to convey his sincerity.